We'd like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as the traditional owners of this Murray River area, and we recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. And we pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. So today's event is called Knowledge-Based Agriculture, Understanding Ecosystem Services to Escape Chemical Ag. And it's a big long name because I like a lot of meaning in the flyer, so that we're only a small percentage of people that actually get to attend the event, and the ones that don't get to read that and get something out of just the name. But today's also the inaugural National Regenerative Agriculture Day. I hope most of you are aware of that, but the National Regenerative Agriculture Day, or they're calling it NRAD, is a united movement to raise awareness about regenerative agriculture and the benefits to helping heal the land and our communities. So what they're saying about it, the statement I'll read from them is, this day is about a powerful fundraising stand and educational movement between our farmers, our educators, our gardeners, our foodies and our students, as we attempt to restore balance back to our soil, environment and food chain. So this is a movement of people who are standing true for the future of Australia and the planet. And it's time to end drought one farm at a time and bring health, sovereignty and sustainability to the future of our children. And the day, the NRAD Day, was created by a group called What Would Love Do Now Foundation. And let's move on. That's the What Would. They've got quite a very cool artist working with them. And so the founders are farmers from Inverell, Helen and Mike McCosker, and Callie Jones. That's them in the back of the ute. So they're very much, they're farmers that are really experiencing the drought as much as a lot of others in New South Wales. And the other key farmer that's part of it as well is Charlie Arnott, which some of you may have heard of. So his quote is, "This is a movement to heal the heart of the food chain. There's no bigger, bolder achievement than to inspire the heart of our farmers across the nation to embrace regenerative agriculture and restore balance back to our soils, environments and food chains." So, and this is the organisers' event that's happening in Byron Bay right now as we're having this event. And they're calling it the largest underground movement in history, which is pretty cool. There are events happening like this for farmers and also in schools, restaurants and communities Australia-wide. And this chocolate company that sort of inspired their chocolatey breakfast, Alter Eco, it's a Swiss-made dark chocolate crafted from organic cacao by farmers who are replanting South American rainforests. So they've donated 8 boxes of 700 in each box sea salt truffles, just like this, to the NRAD cause. They've also created a funding platform called Carbonate, which endeavours to get soil carbon levels to 8%, with funds going to support education to help farmers achieve this. And you can buy these awesome t-shirts, and you might have noticed the NutriSoil staff all looking a bit funky today. We've got our NRAD t-shirts on. And yeah, it's very easy to get on their website, and you can buy these t-shirts for family, friends and for yourself. And $8 from each sale goes to the cause, which is helping farmers through education and things like that. So I've got some, this is a cool one. A number of us are already planning on getting the sheep one. I've just taken a really small selection. That one's pretty cool too. And kids, yeah, there's so many designs. They've had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, so you can also donate, and I imagine there'll be many more creative ideas, including great events like this. And probably social media is the best way to follow them, but they do have a website as well, which is just nationalregenerativeagricultureday.com. That's on the flyer that for today as well. As I said, we called this day Knowledge-Based Agriculture. And that was after hearing Andre talking about the need to get back to this type of farming. And it was a great fit with us at NutriSoil, as our purpose is to empower farmers to produce life-enriching food. And what better way than with knowledge? In a book called One Size Fits None, A Farm Girl's Search for the Promise of Regenerative Agriculture, author Stephanie Anderson writes that after several generations of farming that has been moving towards specialisation in select commodity crops and animals to increase profits, many conventional farmers now feel trapped, as they lack the knowledge required to farm without inputs. The farms are big and highly specialised, and most are carrying operating loans and other debts. That was a book I just discovered in the last 24 hours. I thought that's another one to put on the list. One size fits none. And Warren Buffett, the world's third richest person, was once asked, what is the best thing for young people to invest in for the future? And he replied with knowledge. He said that money comes and goes, people come and go, but what you know never leaves you. So it's always good to begin with the end in mind. And at the end of the day, we would like to achieve two things. So firstly, we would like you to gain knowledge, and that should be pretty easy with the calibre of speakers we've got today. I've actually already had somebody come up to me before we started and said I've got my money's worth. So he'd just spoken to other people that had already inspired him, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, and you have the opportunity, as I said, to meet others and share that knowledge through networking and building networks for future benefit. And that's how a lot of you have come here today, through networks. And the other outcome we'd like to achieve is to further build the community of regenerative agriculture, or Regen Ag. It's easier to say. Regen Ag is a broad term, and put simply, it's farming in a way that regenerates the land, as compared to farming in a way that degenerates the land. And it's not hard to imagine which way a lot of people would rather that go. So Charlie Massey describes it as an ecological approach to farming that allows landscapes to renew themselves. And for those who weren't here last year, Charlie Massey was our keynote speaker and wrote the Call of the Reed Warbler. So that's another one to put on the list. I want to talk to you now about a great way to approach building the Regen Ag community. And it's through sharing stories. We all have stories. And last year at our annual event, we encouraged people to tread your own path. Well, this year we want to emphasise the value in sharing your stories. So one of the reasons that stories are so impacting is because Regen Ag is about human values and not just the latest clever technologies. And that's why Charlie Massey's book, Call of the Reed Warbler, has gone gangbusters, because it's full of stories that we can relate to. And it was Charlie that said we should hyphenate the word agriculture to emphasise the cultural factor. He told us to move from a mechanical mind, a way of thinking that we can control nature, back to a way that was more in tune with and working with nature. And I'm amazed in recent years how much we are awakening to the fact that the Indigenous people had a complete understanding of this way of thinking, and their Dreamtime stories were not just for children, but a method of sharing knowledge in the communities and safeguarding the land with this wisdom. So your story, it could be about why you love farming or working with food, people, human or animal health. What got you into this? Why did you farm the way you do? Or why do you farm the way you do, and what events in your life influenced this? So I have a story I want to tell you about today. It's a story that I thought started a couple of years ago, but really it only came to my attention a couple of years ago, and the story may have started well before I was even born. So a couple of years ago, as I said, I was experiencing extreme tiredness, a sluggish metabolism, and I was always cold, even in December. I just preferred to have a warm jacket at all times and a nano rug, when you're driving in the car, the passenger, all year round. I needed my rug. After a busy stint in WA, I was once again sick as a dog, which I would say was due to the heavy travel load and long days between field days and events. And I remember embarrassingly sitting on the step at the back door of the Haggerty's, West Australian farmers, with Walter Yainer. For those that don't know Walter, he's a microbiologist. And he was talking through the science of what virus was potentially attacking my body, causing me to feel so green and dizzy. It's not a great memory, but Walter was really sweet. On our return home, I decided to join the local gym and get a personal trainer for the first time, to once and for all get on top of my weight that was bothering me. I got this 20-something-year-old lovely blonde personal trainer, super fit, of course, and she was tough. And on 3 separate occasions, she told me I should go to the doctor. She was concerned that I was unreasonably tired, and I kept telling her that I worked hard, and she was always pushing me. But I finally went, and I was embarrassed to go to the doctor for being a bit tired and a bit overweight. The doctor ordered a pile of blood tests, of course, and to my surprise, there was something very wrong with me. How many people get a personal call from the doctor to pass on blood results? He was like, I don't know how you are walking around, but you need to get straight to the chemist to start a lifelong daily regime of taking synthetic hormones. Well, he didn't exactly put it that way, but that's what he was meaning. So my doctor had diagnosed me as having a non-functioning thyroid, and it's called Hashimoto's. My thyroid was so dysfunctional that one of the key indicators, thyroid stimulating hormone, so that's the chemical that the brain sends to the thyroid to tell it to get to work, it was off the scale. And I mean, it was meant to be under 4 and was marked 150 or greater, because 150 was just the limit of the test. So Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition, and it essentially means that my body is attacking itself. And I'm not the only person in this room with this, or one of the many other autoimmune conditions that there are. I won't go through them. So how does this story relate to today? Well, again, reading Andre's book, and I've got his 2 books up there, The Myths of Safe Pesticides, I came across research that linked pesticides, herbicides, and fertiliser cocktails to influencing the endocrine system, and of particular concern, thyroid disruption. And not just one study, there were heaps of them. For example, there was a comprehensive review published in 1998 of literature which found 63 pesticides that interfere with the thyroid system. And yet the EPA has never taken action on pesticide because of its interference with the thyroid system. So what has happened to our food and farming system? The types of conditions like this are growing at epidemic proportions. And it wasn't until I started telling my story to others that I found out how common this is, and we can share what we know and why and try and work out why we got it and how we can treat something considered irreversible, because that's what they say. The other part to my story, though, is that with the help of a naturopath and holistic doctor, I'm showing signs of reversing it, and many GPs still say that it's just not possible. So Andre is going to talk more about human health this evening. I don't want to steal his thunder too much. However, I must say that it was also reading the book, The Myths of Safe Pesticides, that got me thinking that it may not be caused just by my actions and my environment, but by the actions and environment my grandparents were in before I was born. So on our recent New Zealand trip, talking to my aunt, Jill, we'll hear from her later, about my grandparents' exposure to many chemicals through farming. She said she often remembered during the childhood with mum and their brother and her laughing at their dad, my granddad, when he came in from spraying the vines completely covered in pesticides because they thought he looked like a snowman. Anyway, so I hope that you have been triggered by my story to think about your own stories.